Today is Friday, July 31st, 2026. Roland Martin Unfiltered, broadcasting live from Santee, South Carolina, where Congressman Jim Clyburn has his 36th annual Rudolph Canzater Memorial Classic, which benefits scholarships for students here in South Carolina in the 6th Congressional District. We'll talk to him a little bit later in the show. Coming up on today's show, research of her family history landed her in federal custody. That's right. We'll talk to a woman who spent 2 weeks in custody for refusing a judge's order to sign away more than 1,300 acres of her family's land, which has been in their family for generations. Also, the Trump administration is doing a dumb decision when it comes to Medicare and Medicaid Services, ending Part D. Plan D. We'll tell you all about that. Mississippi has completed Nolan Well's autopsy, but has not publicly released it. And also, I'll show you the body cam footage that is a Texas family of an unarmed black teen killed by police, saying that he did not die by suicide. Lots to talk about. It's time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
Hey folks, I am here in Santee, South Carolina, and what you hear speaking right now, that's Congressman Jim Clyburn. He is addressing the folks here. This is the opening reception and the pairing party for his 36th annual golf tournament. It benefits scholarships for students here in the 6th Congressional District, providing them laptops and iPads as they go off to college. We'll be chatting with the congressman a little bit later. Of course, he is excited that South Carolina is going to remain as the lead when it comes to Democratic selection for their nominee in 2028. So we'll also talk to his daughter, who's over this tournament, plus his other daughter, who used to be an FCC commissioner. We'll be talking to her about the Trump administration's attacks on broadcasters like ABC. So lots to be talking about here from South Carolina. But first, let's talk about Mississippi. Folks, imagine spending 2 weeks in federal custody after refusing to sign a court-ordered deed that will relinquish your claim to more than 1,300 acres of land that your family can trace back nearly 2 centuries. That's what happened to Jennine Labuzan. While researching her ancestry, she discovered documents showing that her third great-grandfather, Charles Augustin Labuzan, a native of New Orleans, had an interest in 1,361 acres in Washington County, Mississippi. Well, she was determined to reclaim her family's land, and she has faced a number of legal challenges. Jennine joins us right now from Athens, Georgia. Jennine, glad to have you on the show. First and
Thank
foremost,
you for having me.
First and foremost, you say, when did you find out? What year was it about this land and that it was in your family? Just walk us through that.
Okay, basically, I had started just doing my family genealogical research. And in doing that and putting all of our names together and building out those family trees is when I came across the land patented titles that my ancestor had. And so that was probably back in like about the 2020 time period.
Okay, so land patent title, explain to us what that is.
Okay, so land patent titles are the original, the allodial land ownership records that we have in America. So before we had the warranty deeds and things that we currently purchase property on, our country was originally given out in land titles. And so these are land patents. Sometimes they're also called land grants. But these are the original allodial title land ownerships that were issued out by the sovereign government back in the earlier 1700s and things of that sort. And so these are also forever titles.
Okay.
So when my ancestor's name was included in that title from the U.S. government, it's specifically stated that it's for him and his heirs forever. And so that's how I was able to come and reclaim it today.
Okay. Was your family once in possession of this land and lost it, or did your family never actually get the land?
They were in possession of it, and it was, and probably just somewhere between the first great-grandfather migrating out to California, back in the day. I don't know where all of the full information got lost or just put behind, but nonetheless, it was clear in the records that no one from my family or my grandfather's business partners that were on the land with him ever conveyed their interest out to another party. And so when you don't have that conveyance.
So, look.
Yes.
Right. Go ahead.
So when you don't have that conveyance from the original patent title holders, that's when you have a possibility of a claim, because what that indicates is that someone at a later time period just began to create warranty deeds on the land and operate, although they never did seek that initial permission from the original title holders that is on record.
So we know a history of black folks who were run off their land. The Klan was repossessing land. And so what happened with your family? Was the land abandoned, or has the land been in your family's possession all these years and now they're trying to take it? So explain that.
Yeah. So the ownership has been there since 1840. It's not until about 1919 that different individuals within the Mississippi area, different companies, oil companies, insurance companies, mineral companies, different families, they just began to operate in and out on the land from that time period. And again, I just came back into the full knowledge of all of the information myself as a Californian. My ancestors did move out west, my immediate ancestry. And so we were able to, like I said, be able to pull all the records up and see that it's still in our full position. That's why they were wanting my signature on their deeds, which led to that arrest warrant that I had. Because we still did have the possession of ownership.
So explain that to us. Why did the courts order you to sign it? Why? What was the rationale? Are they not recognizing these documents that you presented?
Yes. I mean, in the long story of the short of the case, I was cheated. It was a legal lynching in the sense that as we began our initial complaints and back and forth, my case was dismissed very early, never allowing me my due process of full discovery, where we could have laid out all of the details and information regarding their position and my position. So after she dismissed my case, I was personally contacted first by 2 of the 3 law firms asking me basically, well, since you lost, would you sign the deeds over to our client? And of course, I didn't respond. But then they must have talked to the judge behind the scenes and said, hey, we need you to put that in your order to have her sign the deeds over, because whether they knew it before I came after the land or they learned in the process, they saw that the Constitution did protect me as an owner. And if they wanted to get full, clear title of that land to where they would have possession of the mineral rights, the airspace, and all the protections of a land patented title, they needed the signature of an heir to have that full possession. So she could have just dismissed my case and let it go. but they didn't want to let me go without seeing if I would sign the land over to them.
Before I
But
let
of
you go,
course,
I
how
want
can
to
I be a
let Candace
grantor
Kelly, our
on the
legal.
land? Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Right. I want to give, before we let you go, I want to give Candace Kelly, our legal analyst and host, opportunity to ask you a question or two. Candace, go ahead.
Okay.
Very good to meet you. First of all, I was very curious about one or two things. One, was there a question about whether or not this had passed over and to somebody else in terms of somebody actually buying it? Was it a bank? I know that there was a forged signature issue that you were asking about. And number two, I'm wondering if anybody has stepped up to you so that you don't have to represent yourself pro se, or perhaps you're not representing yourself pro se anymore.
It's hot. It's on.
Okay, so to your first question, there was a sales contract that the defendants brought in. I had already pulled all of the records pertaining to this land 5 months before I even went into the claim. So that record was not in the books. I had that pulled by a professional abstractor. But anyways, it was thrown back into the discussion. But there was two major red flags, not just the sales contract of 1848 that is highlighted a lot in the news. This contract was also tied to an 1836 derailment title. So they presented that with the sales contract, although that doesn't get highlighted in my court documents as much. But why that's significant is because the 1836 derailment title is dated before my grandfather even had the patent. As I said, he only got the patent in 1840. So there could have never been an 1836 derailment title filed, connecting all of these land parcels because my grandfather didn't even have the ownership. So that was the first sign of fraud. And then they said he sold it in 1837, got it back in 1842, and then sold it again in 1848. Although most of the court documents is starting the conversation from the 1848 sale, it's important to understand that pre-information because he could have never sold it in 1837 when, again, he didn't even have the patent in his ownership. So there was a long list of fraud that was leading into that actual contract that did not have his signature on it, that is half readable. And then if you really read the 1848 sales contract, it still doesn't say he conveyed all of his interest. It says he conveyed a quarter of his interest. So that means there's still 3/4 of an interest still there, even if the sales contract was legit. And that's what's being recognized
All
in
right,
my second
Jennine.
case.
All right, so Jennine is to set up a GoFundMe to help her fund this legal battle. Folks, go ahead and show that on the screen. And so if you want to assist her in that, please do so. And so you see it right there. Jennine, we appreciate you joining us. Keep us abreast of what happens next in this case.
Much. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks a lot, folks. Thank you. Folks, as I told you, I'm here in Santee, South Carolina, where Congressman Jim Clyburn is having his annual golf tournament. And so y'all know how I feel about golf. Now, he claims he's a big-time golfer. I ain't never seen it. And so he joins us right now. Congressman, come on over here. How's it going?
Going great.
All right,
Thank you so much for being here.
Glad to be here. So first and foremost, for folks who don't know what this is about, I keep telling people I go to golf tournaments all around the country, and a lot of our folks, we're raising hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars for our kids.
Absolutely. This tournament started 37 years ago. This is our 36th annual tournament. We were doing this even before I got to Congress.
And who's it named after?
It's named after Rudolph Canzater, who was a young man, was young at the time, who died in a precinct, counting votes. He was a guy that used to drive for me, became a fast friend. He told me one day, he said, "No, I'm going to do everything you ask me to do to help you with your political career. But I'm not going to be satisfied until you run for Congress." And of course, when I did run for Congress, he had passed away. So when he passed away, I named this golf tournament in his honor. And we will give out tomorrow night 171 scholarships. Each one of those young people will get a laptop from Dell and a software package from Microsoft, and they will be going to colleges and universities all across the country. You only have two qualifications. Number one, if you live in the 6th Congressional District, you're eligible no matter where you go to school. If you go to school in the 6th Congressional District, you're eligible no matter where you live. And so we have students come in from California, and we have students who will go out to California. So we keep those two criteria, and that's it.
So 171 this year. How many scholarships do you think you've handed out over the 36 years?
It's over 2,000 scholarships we have given out. We were never as big as we are now, not always as big. We started out, in fact, the first year I had to write a check, to give a $500 scholarship to one of the young people, and the only one we gave that year. Last year we gave out 200, and 200 the year before. And so we are now giving out well over 2,000 scholarships, and somewhere around $6 million.
Okay, all right, that's big there. So let's now talk about South Carolina staying #1 in the cycle. It was a battle. Many other states, Iowa desperately wanted to reclaim their spot. New Hampshire was fighting for it. Nevada was fighting for it. But how does South Carolina prevail to stay first in the nation when the Democrats vote in 2028?
Well, I think that the Rules Committee looked at what the playing field was. There were 6 states that they were going to select, and they were drawn from a lot of states that made the run. Now, South Carolina had traditionally been in this so-called pre-primary window, but until the last cycle, we had been right around 3rd and 4th. And of course, this time, they decided to broaden the field, bring in 6 states, and then once they looked at what 6 states would be, then they looked at the 6 states to decide how they should be ranked, 1st, 2nd, 3rd through 6th, and decided that because of the demographics of South Carolina and because of the record that South Carolina produced in vetting candidates, that South Carolina made the most sense to go first. It will be followed by Nevada and I believe New Hampshire, and then those 3, and then they'll go to Michigan, Virginia, and New Mexico. So
it was an interesting battle because what you had is you had a lot of white progressives. Right. White, why are we doing this? We have no shot at winning that in the general election. So why should we go there? Many African Americans said, "Wait a minute, huge black voting block there in South Carolina. Sure. Black folks are the basic Democratic Party." And the thing that what I said was, by South Carolina going first, many of our interests are going to be on the table first. And those candidates have to be able to answer those issues. And yeah, I know before it was like you go to Iowa, you go to New Hampshire, then South Carolina. But now they're going to have to deal with that up front.
Absolutely, and they should. The fact of the matter is, you want to win in November. That is the big thing, win the presidency. So you ought to put the people on the field who demonstrate that they can appeal to all those corners that make up this party. The African-American vote is very important to the Democratic Party. And so why would you have them in an also-ran position? They ought to be in the mix early on because even if you don't know, when you get to South Carolina, after the results come in, you might find out what it is that you don't know. And you might find out how to improve that which you know a little of.
It was also amazing. Every time it was Iowa, New Hampshire, we would see these stories. Oh, it's retail politics, and and they would talk about how just really smart these voters were and the questions they asked. And I'm going, well, it's not like black folks aren't doing those things in South Carolina.
Right.
And so black folks in this state looked at various candidates, and also wasn't about race. I remember when Sharpton ran for president,
right,
and it was a brother, he ran a magazine in New York. He said, oh, he's winning South Carolina. I said, no, he's not. He said, he's not going to win. He said, I bet you a steak dinner. I said, okay. I said, no problem. And then he had to pay up. And then he hit me. He said, I don't understand. How does Sharpton not win in South Carolina? I said, because black voters are examining who do they think can win the presidency.
Yeah.
I said, so you just can't assume if you black, you're going to win in South Carolina.
Absolutely.
No, I said, black folks are some of the most astute political folks, and we make decisions in the same smart, strategic way as others.
And I wish people would pay a little more attention to that. The fact of the matter is, I do not take black voters for granted. Why should you? And I've been black pretty much all of my life. So I spend my time, as I'm doing here, with the African-American community, because I think I need to demonstrate time and time again that I am interested in their dreams, their aspirations, and I'm going to do what I can to help them to fulfill them. To just say that because you're black, you deserve the support of African Americans, that's not the way it works any more than we can expect that just because you're black, you will represent African Americans. I'm just now thinking about the Supreme Court.
You did an interview that caused a little stir.
Yeah.
When many people said you said that black people let Vice President Kamala Harris down. What you did was you cited 59% turnout.
Right.
And the reality is, and what I have been saying for the longest, is that we have to be 70% should be our minimum, because if we hit that number, all of a sudden we can sweep elections all over the place.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people didn't quite understand that, because when you cited 71% of whites, that there's no way we have a shot at winning North Carolina, Georgia, Ohio,
right,
Michigan, if we don't get the turnout in Milwaukee for Wisconsin, Texas, and other places. And so my deal is that's where we have to be. We're leaving our power at home by not participating in elections.
That's right. And I think that we'll do ourselves a disservice if we don't look at exactly what we need to do. The question is, how do we get beyond that 59%? It seems to me that if my children's future depend upon who occupies the White House, if my children's future depend upon who sits in the Congress and make decisions as to whether or not the Smithsonian continue to represent African Americans in their exhibits the way they should be represented. If that is the case, should I not be participating in the process that make that happen? And if they're not participating at sufficient numbers, we need to take stock. So when I say that only 59% turned out the last time, and Kamala Harris was on the ticket and she lost, the question is, why? What do we need to do to get that number beyond 55%? That's not blaming the 55%. That's blaming maybe me, maybe you. What do we need to do to improve our attempts to reach those people? So it bothers me that the moment people see something like that, they just jump to these conclusions. He's blaming black people. I'm not blaming black people. I'm blaming myself. What did I not do that could have gotten the turnout the way it should be? That's why I've been taking stock. That's why I've been talking to Divine Nine all over the country, talking to Masonic groups, talking to the faith leaders to see what can we do to better appeal to that vote to get them beyond the 59%.
I think two things have to happen. I think there is something that has to happen within our community, but the reality is when you look at the Democratic Party, the apparatus, and I'm talking about Democratic Governors Association, DSCC, DCCC, looking at House Majority PAC, Senate Majority PAC, and all these other individual PACs in these campaigns. And what I have been saying, if you study the data, is that, listen, so I'm 57. I'm 58 in November. My mom and dad are 79. You're what,
86.
86.
Absolutely.
If you look at the data, black people who are 65 plus self-identify as Democrats.
Absolutely.
55 to 64 somewhat self-identify.
Right.
When you keep going down, there's less self-identification. So what I've argued is that Democrats are going to have to spend 4 times as much time and 4 times as much money to turn out black voters than they were used to. I said that, and it's no disrespect to Obama, but Obama did not need the black political infrastructure that was in place that Reverend Jackson, Ron Brown put in place.
Right.
The problem is that infrastructure was obliterated because of those 8 years of Obama. And so these white male Democratic strategists are not listening to understand you can't just sit here and say, well, we're going to spend $2-3 million, but we're going to raise $1 billion. I mean, the reality is the Kamala Harris campaign raised more than $1 billion.
Right.
And then you push it the other pack, only $22 million went to black-owned media.
Absolutely.
Total.
Right.
So what are you and others, what is the CBC, are y'all basically putting your hand down to all those groups saying, listen, if y'all do not spend the money on the ground in these communities, you're going to lose?
Look, it's kind of interesting. You talked about the most recent kerfuffle. Several weeks ago, I got a lot of crap from a lot of people because I said we are losing because we are relying on the consultant class. These people that we are spending all our money on do not necessarily have the understanding of the communities that we need to energize.
Right.
And if you do not sit in those AME churches the way I do, you do not sit in those Southern Baptist black faith groups that I sit in.
Or go to the places where young folks aren't even going to church anymore.
Absolutely. And so you're going to tell me how best to do the turnout. You're going to give the money to somebody who's never been in these communities, and they're going to decide how the money is spent. And I'm telling you that you are spending your money funding people who place TV ads. Ain't no problem with that. They can make all the money they want, and you get all the hits you want. But the fact of the matter is, if you spend money with those churches to lease their vans, you are hiring the deacons in those churches, the other people who drive the vans.
Paying for staff and not hoping we volunteer for free.
Absolutely. And you want these people to work for nothing. You ain't asking them people who place the TV ads to work for nothing. So this is a lot of crap that we got to stop, and I'm not going to let them get away with it. And they gave me a lot of hell for that. And so that was giving my party what I thought they needed to know.
But are they listening?
Well, we'll find out. But I also want my folks to know that we've got a heavy responsibility. Look, I'm the 9th African American to serve in Congress from South Carolina. That 95 years between number 8 and yours truly number 9. Why do we have that 95 years? We can't ignore that. We got to look at what is going on today like I do. I look at this, and I remember what happened in 1876. What is going on today with this administration is exactly what they did, what Rutherford B. Hayes did back in 1876 that started Jim Crow. And people have to understand that Reconstruction came to an end by a single vote. It was a committee vote of 8-7 that ended Reconstruction. It was an electoral college vote of 185 to 184 that started Jim Crow. No big sweep coming over the country.
Right.
A single vote in each one of those instances. And what we've got to do is make sure we don't let that history repeat itself. And we're not going to do that by denying the fact that we got responsibilities to check ourselves to find out what it is. Jim Clyburn needs to find out why is it that we did not turn out more than 59%. And you and I talk all the time, and we wish we could get some other people listening to us. Hopefully, we're going to get that done before November 3rd.
All right. Well, I'm gonna keep giving the hell, and you the same.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it. And
thanks for being here. Just know that second place in this tournament is wide open for you.
Oh, well, I didn't. I won my flight last time I played here, so I expect to bring that trophy home back to the crib.
Okay, buddy.
Because an alpha's name gonna be on it.
No. All you alphas, you kappas, just know you're gonna end up in Omega chapter.
Yeah, but you know what? My pastor, Ralph Douglas West, who's an alpha, told me. He said Jesus was the alpha and the omega. But when he was in that Omega chapter, he said, this ain't good, so he got out 3 days later.
That's a pretty good one.
got me. I appreciate it, Congressman. We're going to go to a quick break. We'll be right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
You got me on that one.
He just told me that one a week. Let me get personal for a second. My mom had questions about her Medicare, so she called Chapter, a Medicare advisory company, and she texted me right after saying it's a great benefit. It was easy. A real person walked her through the whole thing, and now she understands better what's going on. But it's not just her. A woman in Yonkers wrote in saying the process was so simple, the enrollment was easy, and she was so glad she called. Then there's Marilyn, 90 years old, in Florida, living on Social Security. Her premium climbed every single year north of $400 a month for coverage she could barely afford anymore. So what does she do? She called Chapter. They found her the same top-tier coverage for hundreds of dollars less. 90 years old, and finally somebody in her corner. I hear stories like that again and again from our community. The Medicare system was not built to work for you. Too much fine print, too many plans. Yet Chapter's advisors are independent and honest, the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide. They're focused on one thing, what actually works for you. If you're already in the right plan, they'll tell you. No games, and people who switched with Chapter saved an average of $1,100 a year. All it takes is 20 minutes. You talk to a real person, and it's completely free help. So call Chapter at 724-264-8281, 724-264-8281. That's Chapter.
Let me ask you a question. Why do so many people seem to think they know black men so well? What they think we want, what they think we need. Hell, they even tried to tell us why and how we voted, but never had a conversation with us. Never asked us how we felt, what brings us joy, what makes us angry, what makes us scared. How do we live? That's what this show is about. No translation, because we don't need anybody speaking for us. We can speak for ourselves. This will be a show where we bring brothers on that you don't see on every other talk show. Nope. Brothers that are doing work in local communities with black men for black communities. We're going to hear each other and try to understand, so perhaps we can move forward together. No translation, because we don't need anybody speaking for us. Nope. What we need is each other. No translation, right here on the Black Star Network. Check it out.
Hey everybody, I'm T.D. Jakes, and I want to encourage you to watch Roland Martin Unfiltered. It'll blow your mind.
Folks, in 2027, nearly 25 million people who use Medicare are going to experience an increase in their premiums and prescription drug costs. Why? Donald Trump. That's right. On Tuesday, the Trump administration and the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services announced the ending of the Part D Premium Stabilization Demonstration. Part D is an optional prescription drug insurance plan available to people enrolled in Medicare. It helps cover the cost of both generic and brand name medications obtained from pharmacies and includes coverage for many recommended vaccines for adults. The program provided federal support to insurers to help minimize increases and discrepancies in premiums. So what does this mean? Joining us now is Adema Cup Meadows, author, the CEO of Health Tech for Medicaid. Glad to have you here. So walk us through. Trump was running around talking about how he was going to be helping seniors lower prescription drugs. Is this essentially a payoff to the drug companies?
I don't know that this is a payoff to the drug companies, but I think this is a continuation of the dismantling of healthcare that is happening as a part of HR 1 and many other things we're seeing that will take effect in January of 2027.
Okay, so walk us through again, what does this mean? So numbers, what is someone paying right now, average person, and what will they be paying once this happens in 2027?
Well, it's hard to answer that question. I think that let's go back a little bit and explain this. So Part D is the part of Medicare that helps pay for prescription drugs, right? This is not Medicare taking away prescription drug coverage tomorrow. It's CMS removing kind of the temporary cushion that keeps the monthly premiums for certain Medicare drug plans from rising too quickly. And why that, so it's like, think of it as the government ending a coupon that helped us hold down the monthly price. So beginning in 2027, some seniors who have the original Medicare plus separate Part D prescription drug plan may see much larger premiums increase. And we do not know the plan's price yet because that is not set until September. So people should not panic, but they should pay very close attention to this fall. And I could give you some numbers if that's really what you want to know. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
So
Give us the
I think
numbers.
this matters for Black America, right? Because many of our seniors are already managing lots of prescription drugs, right, on fixed incomes, right? So 1 in 4 Black Medicare beneficiaries had an income below about $20,000 in 2024, which is the latest data we have. And Black beneficiaries are more likely than white beneficiaries to report cost-related problems in getting their health care. So, you know, a higher premium may look small, but when it comes to you paying for your groceries, your light bill, or deciding which medication gets filled, obviously you need to have, you know, lights and you need to eat, right? So meds usually are the first to go.
So when does it start in 2027? Is it January or later in the year?
January 1st. Nope, starts January 1st, and these rates are not set until September. So in September is when we will hear about some of the rates. Now, what you should know is you shouldn't cancel your plan today. You need to watch for your plan's annual notice of change, which usually comes out in September, and then you compare your plans during your Medicare open enrollment. Medicare open enrollment is October 15th through December 7th. So you have time to look and compare plans. People who have limited income, which is most seniors, right, should also check to see if they qualify for something called extra help, which is there to see if they can even further help reduce their Part D premiums and their prescription drug costs. But
I want to bring in my panel
basically,
right.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
I'm going to bring in my panel right now. Joy Cheney, she is the founder of Joy Strategies out of D.C. Michael Imhotep, host the African History Network show out of Detroit. And, of course, Candace Kelly. Questions, I'll start with you, Joy. What's your question?
So I do healthcare work. Let me just add, adding what our colleague just said here. So what this administration has done is between Medicaid and ACA, so ending the tax credits, which is, similar to ending these subsidies, right? 8 million people have already lost their health care. We expect that to go up when the big, beautiful bill or big, ugly bill takes effect in the new year. So now, on top of that, seniors, if they hadn't been caught up in ACA, right, or Medicaid, right, are now being caught up in having this removal of the Medicare Part D subsidy. And if you're thinking, well, then maybe I'll go get extra help, assuming extra help remains, we know that more people are going to be trying to get extra help, which will make it more difficult for people to get extra help, including those who are on it. So I just, would love, if there's anything that our guest wants to say about that. I know that wasn't a question, it was a statement, but I think it's important to put together the constellation of crisis. And even if you aren't on one of these government programs, hospitals are closing, emergency wards are closing, maternal health wards are closing right now. That will continue next year. That means everyone, regardless of how you present at a hospital, are going to see frustrated interactions and higher lines and longer waits and et cetera at your local hospital, especially in rural America. If your guest has anything to add about that, please do. Sorry for the diatribe, but I had to underscore it.
No, I think you're absolutely correct. I mean, this is a decimation of our healthcare system for all of us. I think you cannot cut Medicaid by $1 trillion and now start to impact our seniors by cutting Medicare. The ACA cuts impact the exchange. I think this is an all-out assault on healthcare in this country. And yes, you're saying rural hospitals close. We are all going to be hit with the impact of our emergency rooms being overcrowded. The uninsured in this country is going to go up tremendously. All of these cuts are hitting all at the same time post the election cycle, right? It's all happening in January of 27. One thing I do want to caution people, though, is do not choose a drug plan based solely on your premium. A cheaper plan can cost more overall if it does not cover your medication. So, you know, it puts you in a more expensive tier and may exclude your local pharmacy. So I do want folks, and this is maybe where as a Black community we can start to help folks. How should we help people look at their monthly premiums, whether every medication that you are on is on the formulary, looking at the difference between deductibles and copay amounts. Yeah.
Well, Adiva, that's why we partner with Chapter for that very reason. For folks to be able to, it's a free service for them to be able to call, and so we partner with them for the last couple of months, and we've extended our partnership with them over a year. And again, look, my parents hit me up and showed me the savings that they've actually made as a result. So what you're talking about is exactly what we're doing here on Roland Martin Unfiltered and the Black Star Network. Question from Michael.
All right. So my question was back on Tuesday, Dr. Mehmet Oz of the Trump administration, administrator for Centers for Medicare and Medicaid, he said that ending this subsidy program would prevent billions of taxpayer dollars from being funneled to insurance companies. And he said it cost the agency an estimated $3.6 billion in 2026. And he went on to say that most Medicare beneficiaries would see less than $10 per month increase, and some would even see lower premiums than beforehand. So what, and this is from the piece from the Associated Press, what is wrong with what Dr. Mehmet Oz is saying, who is actually a doctor, and some people may be inclined to think he knows what he's talking about?
Well, he's a cardiothoracic surgeon, correct? But he's been probably a TV entertainment individual a bit longer than he's been a clinician. So I'm just going to leave it at that. You know, CMS says that they're ending this because prescription drug plans have had enough time to adjust to these reforms and now can price their plans with that temporary support. That tells you right now it doesn't have anything to do with people. It has more to do with insurance plans. You know, if, you know, for me, the program materially lowered the average standalone premiums by about $26 a month in 2025. And it would have decreased them about $16 a month in 2020. And I think they have $16 a month in 2026. Doesn't sound like a lot of money, but if you're on a fixed income, you know, that's a significant amount of dollars. I mean, per month, you know, think about what $26 per month, you know, times 12 months is. That's a lot of money for people. As when you look at the average savings, I mean, I don't know, I'm not a financial services person, but if you look at the amount of savings that most seniors have in their bank account, it is not very high.
Candace.
How will this affect the maternal mortality rate given the discrepancies and the way that Black mothers are treated? Does this trickle down and affect that arena at all?
Well, so Medicare is over 65, right? So this particular issue is not going to impact, I mean, we don't have very many 65-year-olds having babies, but the Medicaid issue will significantly impact the Black maternal health issue. And so this issue right here for Medicare will not impact maternal or birthing health at all, just due to the age of which you qualify for Medicare. But Medicaid, $1 trillion cut to Medicaid, will absolutely impact our maternal health crisis and deeply impact Black Americans, Native Americans across the U.S.
All right, then. Well, we certainly appreciate you. All right. Well, we certainly appreciate you joining us, educating our folks on this. And again, What we really try to aim here is to help folks out, giving them a warning, preparing for what comes next. Thanks a lot.
Sure.
All right, folks, going to go to a break. We come back. MAGA, if you have been accused of sexual assault, they got no problem still supporting you. That and other issues we'll talk about right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network, coming to you live from Santee, South Carolina. If you want to support the work that we do, please join our Bring the Funk fan club. Our goal is to get 20,000 for our fans contributing on average $50 each a year. That's $4.19 a month, 13 cents a day, to supporting this show and all the other shows on the Black Star Network. If you want to give via Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here on the screen. As for credit cards as well. If you're listening, go to blackstarnetwork.com for ways to give. Checks and money order. Make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. PayPal's R. Martin Unfiltered. Venmo RM Unfiltered. Zelle. Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back. All right, folks, let me get personal for a second. My mom had questions about her Medicare, so she called Chapter, a Medicare advisory company, and she texted me right after saying it's a great benefit. It was easy. A real person walked her through the whole thing, and now she understands better what's going on. But it's not just her. A woman in Yonkers wrote in saying the process was so simple, the enrollment was easy, and she was so glad she called. Then there's Marilyn, 90 years old, in Florida, living on Social Security. Her premium climbed every single year north of $400 a month for coverage she could barely afford anymore. So what does she do? She called Chapter. They found her the same top-tier coverage for hundreds of dollars less. 90 years old, and finally somebody in her corner. I hear stories like that again and again from our community. The Medicare system was not built to work for you. Too much fine print, too many plans. Yet Chapter's advisors are independent and honest, the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide. They're focused on one thing, what actually works for you. If you're already in the right plan, they'll tell you. No games, and people who switched with Chapter saved an average of $1,100 a year. All it takes is 20 minutes. You talk to a real person, and it's completely free help. So call Chapter at 724-264-8281, 724-264-8281. That's Chapter.
Let me ask you a question. Why do so many people seem to think they know black men so well? What they think we want, what they think we need. Hell, they even tried to tell us why and how we voted, but never had a conversation with us. Never asked us how we felt, what brings us joy, what makes us angry, what makes us scared. How do we live? That's what this show is about. No translation, because we don't need anybody speaking for us. We can speak for ourselves. This will be a show where we bring brothers on that you don't see on every other talk show. Nope. Brothers that are doing work in local communities with black men for black communities. We're going to hear each other and try to understand, so perhaps we can move forward together. No translation, because we don't need anybody speaking for us. Nope. What we need is each other. No translation, right here on the Black Star Network. Check it out.
Now that Roland Martin is willing to give me the blueprint, hey, Cyrus, I need to go to Tyler Perry and get another blueprint because I need some green money. The only way I can do what I'm doing, I need to make some money. So you'll see me working with Roland. Matter of fact, it's the Roland Martin and Cheryl Underwood show. Well, should it be the Cheryl Underwood show and the Roland Martin show? Well, whatever show it's going to be, it's going to be good.
Well, y'all, this just in, the sheer stupidity of Donald Trump, his Department of Justice. They have dropped charges against the former Olympian, David Hearn, who they accused of damaging the Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool. In their statement to dismiss, Candace, you're going to love this. They said, quote, damage to the Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool in June 2026 was the result of flawed installation by the contractor. You know, the friend of Trump who got a no-bid contract of $14 million to so-called fix the reflecting pool. These people, Candace, are corrupt and they're stupid.
And they didn't have the evidence to prove that he did anything that violated the law. And therein lied the problem. It was just a matter of time before we saw this type of information come through. We saw the pool changing colors as soon as it went down. We saw and heard evidence that was contrary to what the Department of Justice was saying. All of this is political, as you said, to justify the purchase of this reflecting pool, which did not need a change, as we know, to begin with. So, you know, it's interesting that when the evidence comes forward, sometimes it does us well and does justice. And I think that in this case, the Department of Justice didn't do anything but pull back on this ridiculous claim, and not against just anybody who was regular. This is an Olympian, someone that people generally hold in high esteem. Olympians come to the White House after they win their medals. This is someone that it didn't make sense that this was happening to on an even higher level. So all of this culminated into the final truth that we knew and that finally actually made it to the record. Thank goodness, but we saw this coming.
It goes to show you, Michael, the sheer incompetence of these so-called geniuses.
Yeah, Roland, and if you keep reading that Associated Press story, it goes on to say that in addition to the flawed installation by the contractor, they said the rush to complete the project prior to events associated with the America 250 celebration in the week surrounding Independence Day 2026. So not only was it a no-bid contract, not only was it a faulty installation and poor quality, but it was also a rush job. And attorney Jennine Pirro, she had to admit that there wasn't enough evidence to charge him. So I think this Olympian should sue the Trump administration for legal fees. But Roland, isn't this the administration that talks about qualifications and DEI and unqualified people? He's surrounded by DEI, by white DEI, white unqualified people. So you're going to see more of this. A lot of these lawsuits, a lot of these prosecutions, things like this are falling apart. And we're going to see more of this.
Joy.
These are political prosecutions, we know. What's interesting is he's doing other quote unquote beautification projects around the city. And what we see with them, they're getting extra scrutiny. People are saying, hey, they may look good today, but how will they look tomorrow? More rush jobs, things done, no bid contracts, sometimes contracts that seem like there's a personal relationship between the person who receives the contract and the president, not the due vetting. I mean, this is where government is at its best, right? When it says we got to have extra scrutiny, we want to have multiple bids, we want to make sure that the project, if done, is going to last interactions with the public, including if there is some vandalism. But right here, this was silly always from the beginning. This is a case of the Trump administration saying, are you going to believe us or your lying eyes? The American people saw way before any Olympian showed up that the pool was, faltering under the weight of the incompetence of the Trump administration, algae, the paint coming up, etc. So there was just no way this was going to move forward. And this just is the last in a number of failed efforts, failed prosecution. We see Todd Blanche's hearing being delayed, him being challenged by members of his own party because they simply are not behaving in a way that is competent, much less ethical. So this is just another definition of what it means to be in the Trump administration. And the difference between the first administration, there was plenty of incompetence, but there were also some competent people there who demanded that the president adhere to some standards. Now they've taken away those breaks. He's surrounded himself by sycophants and, frankly, people who aren't up to the task, because if you were, you wouldn't be working for him. And this is the result. We can expect more of this. So
we got a couple of sound bites that are going to make y'all laugh. Control room, do y'all have those ready? You have the prosecutor in the District of Columbia, Jennine Pirro, at the news conference, just going on and on and on about this. Then you have the Interior Secretary, Doug Burgum, who, he is adamant about what happened. So wait till we play those for y'all so you can hear these fools. And see, this is the problem. And this is the issue for all of these people who choose to work for Donald Trump. You are destroying any credibility you have, because what you're doing is you're lying for the liar in chief. You're making stuff up because he wants you to. And so you're going out to the public saying BS and hope they're buying it. And you know what? Every time you lie, folks like me are going to come back and play your lies to embarrass you. And don't think it's only in this case. We're going to do it 5 years from now, 10 years from now. All of the lies that these people tell on behalf of Donald Trump are going to follow them for the rest of their lives. I'm telling you, these people are absolutely insane. Do we have the bites ready? Guys, just play them direct from the computer. Just play them direct from Twitter. Okay, you check Group Me, I sent it, y'all. And so just click the link. Just click the link. That's all you got to do. Play the video. But it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy to listen to them describe the damage done and saying, oh, no, this is an airtight case. It is solid. We got no issues whatsoever. And you're like, yeah, you do. And this is, the thing here is, Candace, if you take this, but then you now expand it, how many times they keep losing in federal court? You have DOJ attorneys going to federal court lying, and the judge is like, y'all lying, busting them for the crap they're doing, for violating court orders. For people who claim that it's all about the rule of law, this is a lawless administration.
And interestingly enough, many of these judges that are calling them out on their wrongdoing, they are appointed by Trump. So we know that these are people who are looking at the law saying, it's speaking to us right here. There's no other way that we can go. What you are doing is ridiculous and makes absolutely no sense. It is unlawful. It is political prosecution. And we have seen this over and over again, and we will see more of it. But I think what's going to be interesting is these sound bites that you're going to play, because we know that there's going to be a story that they tell that's going to make it seem like everything that they actually did was actually okay. There was just some misgiving somewhere or some misunderstanding, but what we did was right. But we're going to move on and let this gentleman go. They are never going to fully admit guilt. There's not going to be the admission that they should do and that they should want to do, as you said, for trust and accountability. But that never happens.
All right, guys, we got a clip ready? All right, roll it. Roll it.
Was this part of the pool specifically, was the sealant already partially removed? Did he rip it back and just describe in detail? Because he maintains that it looks the same as it did before he arrived. That's his.
I'm not going to get into the evidence, but what I told you is what our witnesses saw and experienced. There was an effort, a violent effort, to rip up the sealant from the bottom of the pool. And irrespective of whether or not, we think that, there is some situation that preceded it, we can state and prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he caused damage, and that damage is over $1,000.
Key in on that. How do you prove that $1,000?
With an expert. Come to the trial.
It has to be drained? Is that because it has to be drained?
We'll hear all that at the trial.
Did he have any tools, or was it just his bare hands?
Right now, we believe it's his bare hands, both hands.
So does that indicate in your belief that it was probably damaged before, or do you believe that he...
he damaged it.
Further, but do you believe it had already been damaged before?
He damaged the pool.
Before he touched it?
He damaged this pool.
But have been, all these videos, obviously.
Well, good. I'm glad you've got that evidence. Come on in the grand jury. You can testify. Next.
Peeled off. Why did that happen? Do you know?
It didn't peel off. There was vandalism. There was box cutters. There have been 7 arrests. There was people literally trying to destroy part of a monument. The reflecting pool is not just a pool on the mall. It is part of the Lincoln Memorial. And if anybody says that they're going to go and vandalize that, it's no different than if someone was throwing.
And you're
paint on Lincoln
100%
itself.
sure that what happened with the liner was vandalism. You can prove it.
Oh yeah, absolutely can, and as we drain it, we've got all the photographs we can see. I mean, there's no possible way.
There are photographs of a person or people cutting a 300 or 350-foot gash in the bottom of the reflecting pool?
Dana, I'm not sure why you and others in the media think that you want to keep trying to question whether or not this is an industrial liner. Every farmer and rancher in America that's had their pickup liner lined by this sprayed-on liner knows that you literally, it would never just like peel off or fall off. This is like a strong material, and it's the size of 8 football fields. And the only way you can end up with actual slices in one spot and not the other is that someone physically cut it. And so but the pool itself, it's not leaking. It was leaking 45,000 gallons a day. It's finally been fixed by President Trump. And the American flag blue is working perfectly. And again, it's beyond me why. I mean, the real scandal is about the fact that the state of our capital was in such total disrepair that some people, no one was reporting about. I was reporting about the pro-Hamas graffiti on the.
Mr. Secretary, you and I talked about this last month.
Yeah, and we're still talking about it.
Well, because it was July 4th and the reflecting pool was closed.
It was closed because it's surrounded by fireworks. It's closed every year on the 4th of July.
But it was closed prior to that in order to fix the reflecting pool.
But it was closed because the largest fireworks display in the country we talked about was set up, and it lines either side of the reflecting pool. You can't have people around fireworks when they're being set up. Now that the fireworks will come down, the fence will come down. The fence was there because of the fireworks.
Copy that.
We can prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. How about that, Michael?
Yeah, see, Roland, this is an example. You remember last week, Friday, I said they'll say one thing on Fox News, but when they go to court, it's totally different. Okay, that's when we found out that the Trump administration attorneys admitted that Trump and Russell Vought canceled grants to states that voted for Kamala Harris. Here, they're saying something on Fox News and at the press conference that the attorneys weren't saying in court and in the court filing. Okay, so because they're basically saying in the court filing, there's no evidence to prove that this guy did this. But they want to go ahead, and it seemed like Jennine Pirro was accusing him of committing damage, $1,000 worth of damage or something like that. But that's not what the attorney said in court, in the court filing. So this is a perfect example of it. They're trying to save face, but these prosecutions are continuing to fall apart on them.
Joe, I swear this is just a group of crackheads.
I mean, at least it would be better. At least crackheads are proficient about getting crack. They're not even proficient about doing the things that they want to get. Let me just add a few other things. So, one, part of the reason they lie on Fox News and not in court is because there's no consequence in lying on Fox News, right? Say whatever you want. We talk about it, but their viewers just believe it and they move on. They're only interested in that top headline. When you go to court, there are consequences, right? You can be held in contempt of court. You can lose your law license, and nobody wants to lose their livelihood in the future, even if they've lost their self-respect and respect of their children and their reputation. They certainly don't want to cut off any avenues to work after this fool leaves office. But here's a point that I think I haven't heard yet. So they're out there and they're saying that the damage to the pool was due to so-called vandalism. We know that's not true, but that's what some of them are saying. What it does is it undermines any future claims if they want to go after and recoup some of the money that they've paid to this company, this pool resurfacing company that frankly did a botched job, right? The people who made the decision not to figure out why algae was entered into the pool and why they didn't clean the filters. Like, so they're really undermining any kind of recourse to get money back for the American people who wasted our tax dollars and our money on these beautification
They're not going to get that money back, Joy. Joy, they're not going to get that money back because Trump hooked up one of his buddies. They ain't trying to get that money back.
They're never
that's all. They ain't trying to get it back.
But that's the thing they should be interested in if they were decent people. Yeah, but hell no, they are not.
No, they're not decent. They're corrupt. All right, I'm going to go to a break. We come back. We're going to talk about MAGA, how insane they are. We got an update on several other cases. We'll also talk with a former commissioner of the Federal Communications Commission about how Trump is weaponizing the FCC against broadcasters. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network, live from Santee, South Carolina, here for the 36th annual golf tournament of Congressman Jim Clyburn. Back in a moment. All right, folks, let me get personal for a second. My mom had questions about her Medicare, so she called Chapter, a Medicare advisory company, and she texted me right after saying it's a great benefit. It was easy. A real person walked her through the whole thing, and now she understands better what's going on. But it's not just her. A woman in Yonkers wrote in saying the process was so simple, the enrollment was easy, and she was so glad she called. Then there's Marilyn, 90 years old, in Florida, living on Social Security. Her premium climbed every single year north of $400 a month for coverage she could barely afford anymore. So what does she do? She called Chapter. They found her the same top-tier coverage for hundreds of dollars less. 90 years old, and finally somebody in her corner. I hear stories like that again and again from our community. The Medicare system was not built to work for you. Too much fine print, too many plans. Yet Chapter's advisors are independent and honest, the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide. They're focused on one thing, what actually works for you. If you're already in the right plan, they'll tell you. No games, and people who switched with Chapter saved an average of $1,100 a year. All it takes is 20 minutes. You talk to a real person, and it's completely free help. So call Chapter at 724-264-8281, 724-264-8281. That's Chapter.
Let me ask you a question. Why do so many people seem to think they know black men so well? What they think we want, what they think we need. Hell, they even tried to tell us why and how we voted, but never had a conversation with us. Never asked us how we felt, what brings us joy, what makes us angry, what makes us scared. How do we live? That's what this show is about. No translation, because we don't need anybody speaking for us. We can speak for ourselves. This will be a show where we bring brothers on that you don't see on every other talk show. Nope. Brothers that are doing work in local communities with black men for black communities. We're going to hear each other and try to understand so perhaps we can move forward together. No translation, because we don't need anybody speaking for us. Nope. What we need is each other. No translation, right here on the Black Star Network. Check it out.
If in this country right now, you have people get up in the morning and the only thing they can think about is how many people they can hurt, and they got the power, that's the time for mourning.
For better or worse, what makes America special, it's that legal system that's supposed to protect minorities from the tyranny of the majority.
We are at a point of a moral emergency. We must raise a voice of outrage. We must raise a voice of compassion. And we must raise a voice of unity.
We are not in a crisis of party versus party. We are in a crisis of civilization, a human rights crisis, and a crisis of democracy itself. And guess what? You've been chosen to make sure that those that would destroy, those that would hate, don't have the final say, and they don't ultimately win.
On a next, A Balanced Life with me, Dr. Jackie, a relationship that we have to have. We're often afraid of it and don't like to talk about it. That's right, we're talking about our relationship with money. And here's the thing, our relationship with money oftentimes determines whether we have it or not. Balancing your relationship with your pocketbook, that's next on A Balanced Life with me, Dr. Jackie, here at Black Star Network.
With medicine and science under attack, I want to keep you and your family informed and healthy. I'm Dr. Ebony Hilton, and I knew at the age of 8 that I wanted to be a doctor. So I studied hard and became the first African-American female anesthesiologist hired at the Medical University of South Carolina since its opening in 1824. And I always say I was made into a doctor, but I was born to be a mom. And as a new mom, wife, sister, daughter, and friend, I understand how frightening a medical crisis can be. I care for individuals on some of the worst days of their lives, and it's my mission to provide you with a safe space to gain clarity on issues affecting your mind, body, and soul. I recognize that there are health disparities, particularly as it pertains to race, and I want to help bridge the gap between you and your healthcare providers. Join me every Thursday for Second Opinion on the Black Star Network, where each week I'll invite experts from various medical fields to share the latest health news. We'll discuss topics such as the vaccine debate, mental and sexual health, medical bias, infertility, menopause, andropause, nutrition, and aging. Together with my medical colleagues, we aim to provide you with a second opinion. Don't miss it, Thursdays only on the Black Star Network.
Melanie Campbell, National Coalition on Black Civic Participation and Black Women's Roundtable. And we are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered all day, every day, 24/7. Spread the word.
All right, folks, an update on the Nolan Wells case. Mississippi officials have confirmed the autopsy on Nolan Wells has been completed, although it's completed, no word on when it's going to be released. USA Today is reporting that Bailey C. Martin, a spokesperson for the Mississippi Department of Public Safety, said the state medical examiner completed the initial autopsy on Wells on July 7th. Mississippi's 19th Circuit Court District Attorney Angel Myers McElrath has said that key evidence, like the state's autopsy report, will remain under wraps until the case was presented to a grand jury. Now, we've all heard the audio and the enhanced audio from the emergency calls made by Nolan Wells' friend. Now, that audio is leading to more questions about what happened the day the 18-year-old disappeared and what led to his death. On Thursday, at the National Urban League's annual conference in Nashville, family attorney Ben Crump gave an update on the case, and his parents, Christine and Elmore Wansley, they also had a lot to say about the investigation.
Nolan Wells goes with friends, celebrating the 4th of July. All the friends come back. Nolan Wells tragically washes up on the shore 2 days later, dead. And so we know all the current events that have been happening. And we are announcing that we have the audio from the officials, and we have retained and are consulting with some of the foremost audio engineering experts to review those audio tapes from the CTO call in its entirety. We also, and Attorney Hurst may go into greater detail on these matters, have consulted President Mariel with oceanic engineering experts to talk about how these facts are lining up. The fact that they say Nolan's body was found in the same location where they say they left him at. And so we want to know, how is that possible with the oceanic tides? We want the experts. I mean, you got low tides and high tides. It's not adding up, so we are going to dot every I and cross every T until we find out what happened to Nolan Wells. Attorney Hurst will also go into a little more detail at Attorney Park about how we're trying to coordinate with Dr. Roger Mitchell, who conducted the independent autopsy of Nolan Wells, to be able to inspect his throat that was missing with his body when he was flown to do the autopsy with Dr. Mitchell. Also, we are hopeful that they will discuss with Dr. Mitchell the photographs and observations made at the time when Nolan was first discovered, because Dr. Mitchell did not get an opportunity until July 10th to be able to examine his body. And at that time, we know the airways and the lungs had already been dissected and so forth, so we can't tell if there was the presence of water or not. That would suggest whether he drowned or not. And remember what Dr. Roger Mitchell said in his autopsy. President Mariel, he talked about the fact that to say he drowned does not draw the conclusions of what happened to Nolan Wells. He said it is equally important to know at what condition was Nolan Wells' body when he went into the water. Was he conscious or was he unconscious? Was he forced into the water or did he go unforced into the water? He said all of these things are very important. And so we're dotting I's and crossing T's. We are focused on getting to the truth, and we stand for the truth. Me and everybody on my legal team stand for the truth, no matter who it implicates or who it exonerates. We stand for justice, no matter who it convicts or who it acquits. And we stand for transparency, so everybody can see. And that's all we want. We want answers. We're not casting aspersions on anybody. We are saying that we want to make sure everybody who is remotely involved has their questions answered to make sure we have a full and fair and impartial and transparent investigation. And is that too much to ask for these broken-hearted parents? Is that too much to ask? That's how, if it was your child, wouldn't you want the same thing? And I get it, they're attacking me, they're attacking Reverend Al, they're attacking the parents of Nolan Wells. We don't care about those distractions. We ain't no ways tired. We are completely focused, completely laser focused on getting to the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help us, God. And so the threats, the attacks mean nothing to us. We will not be deterred. Look into our eyes. We're going to get to the truth. I am so grateful to Mr. Byron Allen for donating $100,000 to the GoFundMe so we can help get the best experts in the world. I am thankful to Reverend Al Sharpton. I am thankful to Mr. Tyler Perry. I'm thankful to Mr. Tara Owens. I am very thankful to everybody who did not think it robbery to say, what can we do to help people get to the truth and call in to the tip line so we can help not only Nolan Wells' family, but we can help Daniel Irvin's family, and we can help Tyler Smith's family as well. Everybody on social media, please continue to ask questions. Please continue to share photographs, share videos. It all helps us solve this potential of what happened to Nolan Wells. I mean, isn't it so important? Somebody saw something. Somebody knows something. As Christine and Elmore have said, if you're really Nolan's friend, you know in your heart of hearts that if the roles were reversed, that Nolan would say something. He would call and tell what he saw. And so that's all they're asking. Do for Nolan what he would have done for you. Do for Nolan what he would have done for you.
It has been 27 days since we have been able to talk to our son, to hug him, to tell him we love him. This has been the most difficult time we have ever had. I want to tell you who Nolan was. Nolan was a God-fearing, God-loving child. He loved everyone. He was the person who would just make you feel comfortable just being in his space. He was never one to exclude. He always wanted everyone to be happy, to feel good, to have purpose. He would lift anyone up. It didn't even matter if he didn't know you. If you took that moment to just tell him a little bit about yourself, what you wanted to do with your life, right then and there, Nolan would be your biggest cheerleader. Today we are begging, because I'm not too proud to beg. We are begging, if anyone knows anything, his friends, strangers, please call the hotline, because we will not be able to rest until we get answers. But please understand that all of these distractions, these other questions that people, the attacks that people have sent our way, just know we will not be distracted. We are ready to do whatever we need to do as his parents to continue advocating for him, because Nolan is not here. He is not here to speak for himself. He is not here to tell us what happened. So again, we will not rest until we get answers. And if you know something, you need to let us know. Please do not be afraid. Okay? Thank you all so much again. We truly appreciate your love and support. You.
I'm faced with a new challenge every morning, waking up, trying to process this. It's the biggest challenge I've ever had. I pretty much was raised up like a lot of you. I didn't have a lot, but I always said I wanted to give my children more than what I had. I think me and my wife did that. We raised Nolan to love everyone, be kind to everyone, because it was just the right thing to do. I got a lot of stuff, but what I really want to say is, like my wife said, if you know something, and you are really, if Nolan was really your best friend, or for the people who say that he was their friend, please come forward and tell us what you know. All we want to know is the truth. We're not blaming anyone. We just want to know the truth. Any parent won't care. Also, the disrespect that's been coming toward my wife and my family. For any parent, no matter what race you are, they need time to grieve. A parent can't grieve when you have people attacking them, attacking their jobs, attacking their character, just attacking them, period. Like, where's the empathy? We, as Americans, this is a diverse country. Not one race made this country. We all made this race, made this country. So we all need to come together. And like I said, if you know something, please come forward and just call our attorneys, give them information, and they'll take it there. Just help us out, and not just us, but all these families need answers. Anyone with information on any one of these cases, please come forward. Because losing a child is something that you have to do with the rest of your life.
You know, folks, we have to continue explaining to people who don't seem to understand what a legal strategy is about. Candace, I look at Threads, I look at Instagram, I look at Twitter, and I see these people acting a fool, criticizing Ben Crump, not understanding that when Crump goes to the NAACP convention in Chicago with the Nolan Wells family, when he goes to Nashville with the Wells family to National Urban League Convention, what he is doing is, the legal strategy is, you're keeping the story on the front page, at the top of the newscast, in the minds of people. If you do not have a media strategy, what then happens is case goes quiet. Now let me be real clear. I see Nancy Grace doing interviews, Don Lemon's doing stuff, these other shows are doing stuff. The reason I have not done a lot of the stuff that they've done, because we have no new information. Okay, so I'm not going to sit here and I'm not debating that idiot Tatum over an interview he did with one of the guys. That is a waste of my damn time. I'm not interviewing somebody. Well, let me talk to them, get the analysis of that audio. And again, if folk want to do that, that's what they want to do. But the reality is, it's not any information. But the job of Crump is to keep the attention on the case. Otherwise, Mississippi will gladly allow it to just fade away.
You are exactly correct, because what we've been seeing is speculation. And as you said, there's no new information, and the information that they do have, they're not sharing because it's going to the grand jury, which is a closed proceeding. So I agree with you 100% that all the talk around this, I hope that it can die down, because what you said is correct also. The accountability for the justice system, a lot of it these days happens in the media. Without it, you are not going to keep the case alive. You are not going to get things as quickly as you want. And you are not going to get accountability. Remember that the police already spoke down there and talked about how this was an accident. They already came to their conclusion without an investigation. So that is what we were dealing with, which is why Ben Crump and everybody else involved has to keep this story alive. Now that it goes to the grand jury, we are on a fact-finding mission. The Mississippi Bureau of Investigations has already interviewed dozens of people. The people who were on the boat with Nolan, there were about 6 or 7 people. There were quite a few. They have to be talked to. They subpoenaed, the parents of Nolan subpoenaed the records and made sure to tell Meta and Google, preserve all the records. This is evidence collecting time, whether it's the engineering reports, whether it's the digital footprint. This is the time where you get all the information. Oh, as well, we have the state autopsy, and then we have the autopsy done by Dr. Roger Mitchell in Washington, D.C. So all of that is what the grand jury is now finally going to do. But this may not happen quickly. It will happen quicker, though, than if there wasn't all this attention. Why? Because it's a process, as you know, Roland. This is part of the legal strategy. Do things slowly, talk to everyone, keep the message out there, because now we're going through a discovery phase where we have to get all this information together to present it to members of the grand jury. So that is where we are, and hopefully people will kind of wait, because that really is what we are in the middle of right now. It's now just a wait and see. There's nothing anybody can do. The information is, we're not hearing about it as much, and that's where we are right now.
See, for me, Joy, I just can't. I hate speculation. I just can't sit here and do a whole show on speculation. And let me be real clear. It can get clicks. It can get views. That's great. But all you're doing is, in essence, repeating the same thing, and that's just not what I do.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. This is not a time for speculation. We want to keep the pressure up. We also want to send to anyone who was there, this isn't going to go away. People are not going to forget. So we want you to tell the truth, whatever happened. We're not presupposing. And I love what his parents said. We're not indicting you in advance. We're not saying that, but we do want to know the truth, because things are not matching up. And we know when things don't make sense, it's because we're missing some part of the story. So this isn't going to go away. If you don't want this following you for the rest of your life, you need to tell the truth. You need to come forward. You need to say
You
it,
got
and the pressure up is very important, and that's why we're doing it. But no, we should not be speculating about what we think happened, what might have happened. One, because that can also lead us down the wrong path. This is about, creating the weather
because
and
what
the
happens is
environment
right, because all the speculation, all it does is get people talking about stuff that's not factual on social media, and then it just simply clouds everything, Michael. And that's the problem when folks just start, well, I think this and I think that, I think this here. If you do not operate from a set of facts, all you do is contributing to the nonsense.
And that's their point. That's their purpose. This, unfortunately, Roland, you've been doing this a long time. I haven't been doing this as long as you, but I've been doing this 16 years, right? And I take a certain factual approach when I cover stories. I've covered thousands of stories. You and I connected when I used to guest host your nationally syndicated radio show. There's things that I see on social media, and people are just making money off of this story, just putting nonsense out. Okay, and these are people who have no conscience. All right, so I hope they get the truth, whatever it is. And the family said this repeatedly. They just want to know what happened to Nolan Wells. They want the facts. And we talked about this last Friday, Roland, with the district attorney, Angel Myers McElrath, saying that they're going to the grand jury. And if people look at the piece from ABC News that talks about the autopsy being completed, the official autopsy, it said in that piece that the DA's office said convening a grand jury does not mean there is any criminality and is standard procedure for most unnatural or suspicious deaths in the county. And last Friday, I asked the question, if they go to the grand jury, who's the suspect going to be? So we don't know if they have a suspect already or if there won't be. Don't know. But whatever it is, we want the facts. We want the truth to come out.
Let's give an update in the case of Sonia Massey. The cop who was convicted of her murder has been denied release. The Illinois Prisoner Review Board unanimously denied former Sangamon County Sheriff's Deputy Sean Grayson an early release. In May, Grayson requested early release under Illinois' Joe Coleman Act after receiving a stage 4 colon cancer diagnosis. Grayson was convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced to 20 years in prison in January for killing Massey in her home in 2024. Massey's family was against the early release, saying he should pay for what he did. The family's attorneys, Ben Krupp and Antonio Romanucci, said in a joint statement, the Prisoner Review Board made the right decision and reaffirmed the jury's verdict in the sentence the court imposed. A badge does not provide an early way out. All right, folks. Donald Trump once said that if he could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue, his supporters would not care. Well, a new poll from Politico says that's not a lie. The majority of those polls said they would literally stick with a GOP candidate even if they were hit with a variety of scandals, including a DUI conviction, accepting lobbyist gifts, domestic violence, sexual assault, and anti-Semitic social media posts. 2/3 of self-identified MAGA Trump voters say they will continue supporting a Republican accused of sexual assault, 13 percentage points higher than the share of Trump's 2024 voters, which include those who do not identify as MAGA. By comparison, 40% of voters who backed former Vice President Kamala Harris in 2024 will continue backing a Democratic candidate accused of sexual assault. That means 60% wouldn't. The point here, Joy, which I keep trying to explain to Democrats, ain't no such thing as the old Republican Party. These people care about power, and they don't care about scandal.
They do not care about scandal. Also, some of them do all the things that are listed there, right? I mean, I have to, we assume a lot of good intent that everyone is good, but frankly, there are a lot of people out there who have DUIs. And, of both parties, but, there are a lot of folks out there, and some of them see themselves in who I consider to be a few derelicts in the Republican Party, but they see themselves in it. Something to think about as we critique people. We have to be careful because sometimes we're critiquing the voters and they don't think that they should have people better than them in the White House, which is why sometimes they take comfort with a Donald Trump or Pete Hegseth or any number of loser who is working in this administration, people that we would think are not fit. They are like, sure, why not? I think the Democratic Party has got to be careful that we don't require perfection in our officials, but there ought to be some baseline. If you've been accused of sexual deviancy, there's a line that you shouldn't cross. And it's not fit for public service, especially when you really haven't apologized for it.
Candace, you got a Republican Congressman, Max Miller from Ohio, who's been accused of beating, throwing hot water, and scalding his ex-wife. What's insane is his ex-wife is the daughter of the senator from Ohio, Marino, and he ain't said a damn word. How shameful is it that your daughter is accusing a Republican congressman from your state of beating her, putting a gun to her head, and you don't say jack publicly? Damn.
Well, let's look at the laws that are out there and how we treat women inside of the legal system anyway. I mean, that is a given that women are treated subpar than anybody else. And men have always, especially white men, have been held up on a pedestal. So this all makes sense and this all tracks in terms of how we regard people in power and how we regard people in power and who we think those people should be. And for those people who believe that a DUI is okay or sexual assault is okay, just like Joy said, they're in the company of people who are reflecting them. So it makes sense that they would accept this type of lowest common denominator of just existing as a human being. It all tracks, it all makes sense, and I don't think that any of us are surprised. It is surprising hearing that people were actually asked specific questions. A lot of things were assumed, but I think that this is how we are to understand how human beings regard themselves, especially in light of what's going on in the world today. We just know that people don't see the things that we thought were terrible in 1995 as something terrible today. They just don't see it because a lot of people are doing those same things.
Well, it's no shot, but they also care about power, Michael. You see some of those videos where they would read to the people all these heinous things, and they would go, "Oh, that's wrong. That's awful. That's pathetic. That's I can't believe that." Then they would say, "Oh, my bad. I'm sorry. That wasn't Biden. That was Trump." Then they would, then those same MAGA would start, "Well, I don't know." And it's like, wait a minute, but you just said how awful it was. They give excuses when it's Trump and his maggots.
First and foremost, keep in mind that MAGA is a cult, okay? And it preys on ignorant people. So you have to start with that premise. And, the Access Hollywood tape, when that was revealed, any other presidential candidate, that would have been the end of their presidency. Okay. And that was back in 2016. Okay. So now you have Donald Trump, who was found liable of sexually abusing E. Jean Carroll. Okay. And you said, and 66% of these Trump maggot voters said they would excuse a Republican candidate who was accused of sexual abuse. 72% said they would excuse a Republican candidate of domestic violence allegations, what have you. So they have totally, this was supposed to be the party of family values, Roland. What happened to that? They've totally lost their morality. But yes, this is a power grab. This is all about power. They do not care about morality, but these are also the people who claim to be Christians. No, this is white Christian nationalism that you have. This has nothing to do with the teachings of Jesus the Christ or Yeshua. This is white Christian nationalism. This is all about power, and these maggots have to be defeated.
All right, folks, gotta go to break. We come back. A former FCC commissioner, I'll chat with her about how Donald Trump is using the FCC to try to bring broadcasters to their knees to do his bidding. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. All right, folks, let me get personal for a second. My mom had questions about her Medicare, so she called Chapter, a Medicare advisory company, and she texted me right after saying it's a great benefit. It was easy. A real person walked her through the whole thing, and now she understands better what's going on. But it's not just her. A woman in Yonkers wrote in saying the process was so simple, the enrollment was easy, and she was so glad she called. Then there's Marilyn, 90 years old, in Florida, living on Social Security. Her premium climbed every single year north of $400 a month for coverage she could barely afford anymore. So what does she do? She called Chapter. They found her the same top-tier coverage for hundreds of dollars less. 90 years old, and finally somebody in her corner. I hear stories like that again and again from our community. The Medicare system was not built to work for you. Too much fine print, too many plans. Yet Chapter's advisors are independent and honest, the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide. They're focused on one thing, what actually works for you. If you're already in the right plan, they'll tell you. No games, and people who switched with Chapter saved an average of $1,100 a year. All it takes is 20 minutes. You talk to a real person, and it's completely free help. So call Chapter at 724-264-8281, 724-264-8281. That's Chapter.
I'm Ryan Wilson, CEO and co-founder of The Gathering Spot, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Yeah, okay, whatever. All right, folks, we have seen these insane people in Washington, D.C. do heinous things. And one of the things that we've seen them, we literally have never seen, probably since Nixon, and even Nixon, this is child's play, what Nixon did, how they are using the apparatus of the federal government to try to bring to their knees corporations, including broadcasters. Donald Trump has threatened to revoke the licenses of various companies for not reporting what he wants them to report. And Brendan Carr, his FCC commission chair, is also doing that work for him. Young Clyburn is a former Federal Communications Commission chair member, joins us right now. Glad to see you. I mean, you served on the FCC. Have you ever seen anything what these folks are doing?
Well, number one, welcome to Santee, South Carolina. And the answer is no. When I got to the FCC, if you remember, a couple of years later, we had this thing still in the Federal Register called the Fairness Doctrine. Now, it had been off the books technically since 87-ish. FCC voted 4-0 to get rid of it. Reagan was okay with that. But it was still on the books because you had some people with some uneasiness. So fast forward again to 2011 when they said, look, there's no need for this. The whole landscape is changing. You got cable, you've got all of these options. Why do you need this? Why do you need the quote-unquote equal time rule? So we got rid of that, and I was there at that time. It was one of the most uneasy votes I ever took, I will say to you. But okay, if you think things are relatively balanced, we have the options. Fast forward to 2014 because I had regrets. And I said, let's look at the media landscape with a critical information needs study. You're a journalist, so you know we were looking at that. And we wanted to say, what does the landscape really look like, especially for local television coverage, and what are people getting from that? And do we have enough inclusion in these markets? We got tarred and feathered about looking at how dare we look at this. Because, again, you've got all of these options. Now, if you have all of these options, you have all of these freedoms. If we don't want the FCC in the newsroom, which is what I was told, I'm a little perplexed as to where we are now. Because if we have all of these freedoms, if we have all of these options, if we don't want to be in the newsroom or the talk show rooms and the like, what are we talking about here?
I mean, you have Brendan Carr that he said to companies, if you don't get rid of your DEI programs, I'm not approving any mergers or acquisitions. He has chastised companies for their reporting of stories. And now you have them, first of all, Trump extorted ABC for with the Stephanopoulos lawsuit. They settled that, paid him off. Now you have Carr saying, "Oh, we're going to review your licenses
early."
And that, an early review of the license. based upon because they don't like ABC. And I had Kathy Hughes on the show last week, and she said, look, we own radio stations. We have to walk on eggshells because they could pull our radio licenses.
In 2026, in the U.S. of A., we are talking about newsrooms feeling that they don't have freedoms, talk shows feeling that they're walking on eggshells. I'm just standing here with you, not recognizing the agency that I love a lot. I really don't. So we are in a relatively rural part of South Carolina where the broadband manager of this state said, we almost got things done. Now, almost getting things done in FCC and state talk is infrastructure. We still have an affordability problem. We still have a crisis here. We still have access to information challenges. We should be talking about that. How we get the tools that we need through the platforms like the internet and all of these other platforms. But no, we are talking about what is happening in newsrooms, what is being covered, what is being, talked about. If you have all of these options and opportunities, what does it matter? Because when I wanted more inclusion and looking at a study, I was meddling, I was getting involved in the newsroom, I was attempting to tell owners what to put on, who to hire, and how to conduct themselves. So where are we here?
See, the reason this is important because I need the audience to understand. When you talk about even these nationally syndicated radio shows, what people don't understand is those syndicated radio shows are being aired on radio stations. Those radio stations have an FCC license. Now, this is a digital show. We're on YouTube. The FCC does not regulate YouTube. The FCC does not, even though the people keep yelling about Fox News, the FCC does not regulate cable because that's not a broadcast license.
Exactly.
So the problem that we have is Donald Trump, what they're saying is if these black syndicated radio shows are getting too aggressive, they can literally say, oh, we're going to snatch those local licenses. And what people don't understand is those local radio stations, they're not all corporate owned.
Correct.
They're also owned by individuals. And so you have individuals, and a lot of those individuals, even the stations that are owned where you have urban stations, a lot of those stations are owned by white conservatives. That was the issue with Tom Joyner, with the Tom Joyner Morning Show. I remember David Cantor was like, well, he was like, we got to be careful having people on so many times. He kept talking about equal time. And I was like, what the hell are you talking about? I said, Salem Broadcasting not doing equal time. What the hell are we doing? But he didn't want to tick off these white guys who own these stations that Tom's show was on. So people need to understand. They might be hearing, well, FCC, does that impact me? It does. Because that station owner or that network could say, hey, y'all hold that commentary down because we don't want to tick the Trump people off.
Well, one of the things that we assume is that we can trust those local and national personalities that come over the radio, television, and the like. That we can trust our journalists to tell us the truth as distilled and as brought in, at least some semblance of balance. When you hear about people holding back, people, in some cases, self-censoring, that erodes, to me, the very foundation of this democratic experiment that we have today. Because if you cannot trust the media, then what do we have in terms of the foundation of the democracy? And if somebody else is putting a thumb on the scale,
right,
that is not locally driven.
Well, they're not putting a thumb on the scale. Trump is putting his fat ass on the scale. I'll say that. But the thing, but this is a perfect example of what we keep saying: elections matter. You may not understand that, and people don't understand. At ABC right now, when their shows are on, when The View is having conversations, ABC has lawyers that are in the control room because they're watching every single word and phrase because they're fearful of what Brendan Carr and Trump will do with the FCC to attack their corporation.
One of the things that I found gratifying, particularly no matter what platform that we had regulatory influence over, is the fact that I didn't have to disagree with you. I didn't have to agree with you. In disagreement, that's empowerment. We learn from each other. Why would I want, how does this apparatus work? If everything you say I agree with, if everything you do I'm okay with, how do we grow and how do we learn more in terms of information and just knowledge of each other? So if you are making the lens more narrow in terms of the information and the substance of what I get, tell me what good does that do? I learn the most from people I disagree with, and we come to a more common occurrence, a common ground, and I find out more.
Right.
And we all grow from that. And we're in a period of no growth, in my opinion.
Well, first of all, they don't want disagreement. It's a cult. They want you to completely follow whatever they say and do. Last point, the caps. We've had caps in saying that a group can only own a certain percentage of television stations, because what you do not want is, you don't want for someone to own half of the stations in the country or 67, 80%. Now they are considering lifting that, and you have these companies by saying, oh, well, because of the internet, those old rules don't apply. That's nonsense. Local television stations are still where a lot of people get their information from. And what these people want, look, you already have between Sinclair and Nexstar, especially when they had the Tegna merger. Those two networks, station groups, own most of the local TV stations in the country. They want to say there are no caps. The caps protected diversity of ownership. Your thoughts on that?
I am on record as having an issue with piercing that cap. But we've been piercing it for a long time.
Right. They've been chipping away at it.
Exactly. And then you had the UHF, that discount where what was once dog spectrum became just as prime, and then people started gobbling up that. And the cap, even the cap that we're talking about, it's already been pierced.
Right. Now
we're talking about more overtly doing it. Yep. And honestly, just think about anything that we deal with. When you have a monopoly or a majority when it comes to our critical information needs, very few of us win in that environment. Very few of us win.
Yeah, that gets close to essentially being like dictatorship, state TV. All right, Mignon, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right,
again, good to be here.
Thanks a bunch. I'll go to my panel. Mike, I'll start with you. People need to understand, information is power, and Republicans, they want to own the information pipes.
Absolutely, Roland. I've worked for 3 radio stations in my media career. I used to sell local ads for the Tom Jordan Morning Show. I used to work for 2 FCC-regulated radio stations, one in sales, one as a talk show host. And this is, I think, when we deal with affiliates and nationally syndicated radio, under this administration, this is something that they fear. And I know that, what you think, things that you can say on the radio that you probably could say under the Biden-Harris administration, there's a fear of having licenses revoked, or also a lot of people don't know that licenses have to be renewed periodically, okay? And if you talk about certain things like FCC regulated radio, you can't talk about medicinal marijuana because marijuana is still illegal at the federal level, even though in different states they've passed various laws where it's legal. Well, people can file claims if they hear certain things on FCC regulated radio that violates federal policy as well. So these are tough times, especially for African-American owned media.
Bottom line here, Joy, people aren't talking about a lot of these issues. You don't hear a conversation about the FCC on many of these other podcasts and shows. I need people to understand, if you are paying attention to what's going on, okay, under the Biden administration, they blocked that acquisition of Tegna. Trump comes in, they approve Tegna going to Nexstar. Nexstar, conservatives. Sinclair, conservatives. They arranged the deal for TikTok to go to conservatives. Twitter, bought by Elon Musk, racist. Then you have CBS, Skydance, David Ellison, using his daddy's money, Larry Ellison, who also controls TikTok. Now they control CBS Paramount, which also owns BET. Now, the Warner Discovery deal, which means they will be owning CNN. They will be, so when you start looking at the communication, what will they be owning? Cable news, cable networks, TV studios, social media platforms. That means you can dictate what people are seeing and hearing. It's called mass media for a reason, and people better understand, if you have mass media concentrated in the hands of the right wing, they will control the information flow to the people.
That's correct. And let me just say, there is no depth that these people will not resort to. So we can expect, once they consolidate, for lies to come out. And a lie can come out, people will respond to it, and even if they tell the truth later. And frankly, they're trying out that now, right? We talked about it earlier. They file a fraudulent, ridiculous lawsuit. It gets thrown away later, but they've made their political point, and people don't hear about the cleanup, right? Or the fact that they had to admit they were wrong. This is their plan. They can put out there, they can say something that they know is incorrect. It can spread like wildfire, and they're putting it out through mass media that they will control, and long before we can even get it back, long before we can even make a correction. This is their intent. And we have to assume complete nefarious intent. They are completely focused on power. You referenced that earlier. They understand power in a way that, we haven't seen since 1937, okay? Germany. That's what we're seeing right now. That's what they're hoping for. This is a clear part of authoritarianism. They understand that better than we do. And that is why in programs like this are so important, because this is an area where they won't be able to control it as much. And so we have to invest in online sources during this period. And when we get power back, we have to make sure we are protecting all agencies, including the FCC. You're correct. Elections matter. Even agencies that you've never heard of and you're not paying attention to, if put in the wrong hands, can be quite damaging, and it'll take a long time to unwind. That's where we are.
But what we also have to recognize with what's going on, Candace, is how Trump has been dominating these companies. The Wall Street Journal has an article talking about essentially his corrupt fundraising. How he literally says to companies, yeah, y'all need to give me $25 million. Y'all need to give me $50 million. How he's directing where it goes. He's he's raised more than $800 million for his pet projects. And so even though we're talking about the FCC, and that's broadcast, TV and radio, he's basically saying to any company, I'm going to block you from doing deals. Or if you pay to play, I'm going to hook you up. And he's doing that with technology companies. So he's been doing that with Google, with Meta, with Amazon. And so I need people to really understand, Donald Trump is a mob boss. Donald Trump is operating like Al Capone, like Lucky Luciano, where they're saying, if you don't pay us, we're going to shut the ports down. We're going to shut the garbage trucks down. And all of these, it's like you've never, ever seen it to this extent. And the crazy thing, Candace, it's blatant, it's clear, because this punk-ass Supreme Court, Candace, the Supreme Court, Michael, the Supreme Court, Joy, said to him, hey, whatever the president does is legal. So again, you put that sort of power in the hands of someone with no bottom, someone who is so corrupt, oh, they're going to do whatever, and that's what's going on. He's doing stuff he didn't even do the first term because the Supreme Court allowed that to happen, and you cannot have an imperial presidency. That's what's going on. Do we have Candace back? All right, I want to give Candace her last word. But that's the thing, y'all, that has been, that's clear. And we started this show with Congressman Jim Clyburn talking about our vote. Y'all, this is the moment where we have to keep these thugs out of power. It's clear. Listen, he's there until January 29. But I'm telling you right now, these people are so despicable, so corrupt. They should not control the House. They should not control the Senate. And we've got to make sure that Democrats are winning in these critical states. Democrats have got to get to 218 in the House. They've got to get to 51, 52 votes in the Senate, because I'm telling you, if we let Republicans have 2 more years of total control, I'm telling you, first of all, we're not even sure there's going to be an election, but they will do more damage to this country, and they will do more damage to black people, and they will continue to rip apart the institutions and the infrastructure that has gotten us to this point. Is Candace back? Okay, y'all. Sorry, Candace froze, so we'll leave it at that. Let me thank Joy. Let me thank Michael. Let me thank Candace. Been on today's show. I certainly appreciate it. Thank you so very much, y'all. I am here in South Carolina, Santee, South Carolina. So as you see, folks have been hanging out, mingling, drinking, eating food. This is the paying party for Congressman Jim Clyburn's annual golf tournament, 36th annual golf tournament. And so, yes, I will be playing, and so decided to come here and do today's show. So we appreciate him joining us. We appreciate his daughter, Mignon Clyburn, former FCC commissioner, joining us as well. And y'all, listen, this is why this show is different than anybody else. I don't stay sitting in the studio. I don't stay sitting in the crib. We get out here. We talk to people. We communicate with people. I was just chatting with a brother who's the new golf coach at South Carolina State. I was talking to a brother who's a professor at an HBCU here. I was catching up with some other folks. And so that's why we get out on the road, do this show, to communicate with people all across the country. So your support is critical in allowing us to do that. If you want to join our Bring the Funk fan club, do me a favor. Contribute via Cash App. Use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here on the screen. That's for credit cards as well. If you're listening, go to blackstarnetwork.com for ways to give. Check some money order. Make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. PayPal's R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo's RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Download the Black Star Network app. Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Samsung Smart TV. Be sure to get out Roland Martin Unfiltered Black Star Network swag. Go on to shopblackstarnetwork.com. Shopblackstarnetwork.com. And of course, you can also get all products from all these black-owned companies that you see in our studio. Every single one of these companies are available in our marketplace segment on shopblackstarnetwork.com. So check it out. Folks, don't forget, download the app Fanbase. Follow me at Roland S. Martin. I would appreciate that. And again, Monday, I'm going to be in Los Angeles. Seth the Entertainer has his annual golf classic. We'll have some great content from there as well. I appreciate it, as always, y'all checking us out. And this is the end of 1 month, and of course, tomorrow, beginning of August. So we certainly appreciate it, folks. Thanks a bunch. Y'all have a fantastic weekend, and I'll see y'all next week. Roland Martin Unfiltered, right here on the Black Star Network. Holla!